What is up, everybody, and welcome to a very, very special review. That's right, today we're going over God of War Ragnarok. It's been a long time coming, and my God, I'm so excited to talk to y'all about it. On the panel, I got Jordan, I got Chance, and I got Austin. How you guys doing?
Great. I'm a little sick, but I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. If this was any other review, I'd probably be like, fuck it, I don't care. I'm sick,
I'm
I don't
out.
want to be on. But with it being this game, I had to be here, so here I am.
Absolutely valid. Valid. And speaking of other reviews, be sure to check out other reviews we've been dropping. We got Plague Tale, we got Gotham Knights. On the way, we got Pokemon, we got Callisto, we got High on Life, reviews on reviews. We got Andor coming out, Shared Screens podcast. So be sure to check all those out. Getting that out of the way, I want to start top level impressions. Chance,
real quick,
give it to me, man.
For all you at home, spoiler free. We're not going to give away shit. Don't worry about
Absolutely.
it. We do. That's how we do our video games. We will have a spoiler cast for this.
Great catch.
I just wanted to make sure y'all knew out there. Some of us haven't beaten the game. 2 of us. So if spoilers are dropped, we're going to be just as mad as you. This is a perfect game. This is a perfect game. While I do have some gripes with the combat, it's because of my playstyle, not because of the design of the game. I think that the story is really building off of what 2018 did and is exceeding my expectations. I did not think that anything would give Elden Ring a run for my game of the year, and oh my god, it's neck and neck right now. Like, I don't want to pick my favorite child.
God damn. God, and that's why I can't wait for Game of the Year podcast. But
Yeah.
you got a month to figure it out, man. Jordan, tell me what you're thinking, man.
I'm absolutely loving this game. So, fun little fact: I didn't play God of War till 2020. I was a little late on that train, and so you know the standard was kind of set so high that I played God of War and I was like, "This is fantastic," but like, not necessarily disappointed, but like, I think I hyped it up too much just because like you hear 2 years people like, "Yo, you gotta play it." But this game, I think, really takes what 2018 was and steps its game up while also being the perfect amount of innovative. It adds more without adding too much. And I think the best compliment I can give it is that I don't have the same issues with this game that I have with Horizon, where if you listen to our Horizon review, I complained that Horizon tried too hard to be an RPG when I wanted like a single player game. This game finds that balance really nice because like the levels themselves are a lot more on the rails and I just ignore the side content, but I'm still getting stuff to help me along my journey in terms of upgrades and power-ups and runics, etc. And so like I think that this game really nailed the play style for either people is the best way I could put it.
Fantastic. Austin, take it away.
Yeah, I love this game, and I think that this game is without question better than the 2018 game. But I think I connected, and there was more of a nuance and a surprise to the 2018 game, to where I enjoy the 2018 game much more. But
Interesting.
this is an epic. Like, I know that's been said by the Kind of Funny crew and a lot of people. This is a spectacle. This is what games can do. This is top of the line AAA video game. You slap that on the table. This is what games can do. This is the like pinnacle of video games. Like, there's no question about it. That being said, I didn't connect with a lot of it, with the puzzles and the combat and all of that, but I love the characters. I love the narrative. I love the environments. Like, anything that I had a gripe with, it's just like, I think this aspect just isn't for me. I can acknowledge that these things aren't terribly made, that they're just, there's something about them that they're not connecting with me personally, and I think they did so better in 2018 because it was more simplistic. I think this game throws a lot at you in terms of combat and like gear and like weapon upgrades and stuff like that. And me, I am just like, I have anxiety now, like seeing all of these things you can upgrade and all the gear you can find. So like it gave me these like itches, and not the good kind, where I was like, oof, I just don't know if I'm doing this right. I never felt like I was on top of the combat in a way that the game intended. So but environments, holy shit. When you go to a different realm in this game, it's probably the prettiest thing I've ever seen on screen, period. Not just video games. Like, I love that. The narrative, if this does not win Best Narrative at the Game Awards, I will fucking riot. This is how you write a game, everyone. This is how you bring characters from literal hell to like the top of the line. Kratos, Atreus, I love all the characters, and I don't want to name too many because I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a lot of characters in here that I fucking adore.
Chance, you had anything you wanted to add to that? Real quick.
I think we were talking about this, or I was just mentioning how Elden Ring and this game are like battling it out, and I think that the way Elden Ring built a world and the exploration was like the mainstay. I think the narrative of this game is what's really hitting it out of the park for me as well. I think that I don't know of very many other games that have capitalized off of writing over 10 years like this game has. Like, it has no right to
Yeah.
make me cry like a Mass Effect game, but it's fucking doing it. Like, there's a
Oh yeah.
it's just it. I didn't think that they could recreate the feelings that I had in 2018, and now I'm having new feelings because of the story that they're telling, which, you know, you always want the same thing but different, and they did that.
Right.
100% did that, and hats off, all the flowers to Sony Santa Monica.
Absolutely. Speaking of the 2018 game and the 2022 games, to preface my thoughts, I feel crazy because so many people ride for the 2018 game, and 10 out of 10, phenomenal masterpiece. Lots of people say it's their favorite game of all time. I'm talking about the Rumble Packs, the Greg Millers of the world, and I love 2018. That game is like a 9 out of 10 for me, and like I have a couple issues with it, a couple issues that like knock it down a peg. And I feel crazy because like Jordan said, everyone's been hyping this thing up. And in a lot of ways, Ragnarok is more of the 2018 game, but it so perfectly builds off of everything that's been established in God of War 2018. And it fixes some of my issues narratively, and then like when it starts having those issues, because like my biggest issue with 2018 is how far we deviate from the journey, right? Like we're supposed to climb a mountain. How many times can we deviate from the mountain? Oh, we get up a certain amount. Okay, now we go back down the mountain to get the tool to like let us progress. Oh, Atreus is sick, so now we go back down the mountain. We go to hell, and stuff like that. Lots of deviations. That's my biggest problem. But when this game starts deviating, I know it's all building to Ragnarok, and it's incredible. I think the combat's improved. There's great additions added to it. The realms are incredible. The side content remains meaningful, like all of the stuff, and I think it's like the perfect sequel. Absolutely. But from there, where do we want to jump around? Do we want to do some light story stuff? No spoilers, of course, but just overall thoughts on the story.
Jordan, what were you gonna say? You had your hand up.
I was gonna piggyback off something Josh said, and like if this opens us up to a tangent, we can cut it soon. But like you said that because you have some issues with 2018, you'd look at it as a 9 and not a 10. Do
Yeah.
you guys view a 10 as there are no issues? Because like God of War 2018, Breath of the Wild, like fairly consensus, like good games, 10 out of 10 games. I have issues with some of the way those games do things, but I only
Yeah.
have those issues because I'm able to see them in, and some of them are more personal, but it's like the complaints I have about God of War or Breath of the Wild or Spider-Man, my personal favorite game of all time, are not the same issues I have when I'm playing something like a Marvel's Avengers or a Gotham Knights, or even just a more average game like let's say like Infamous. I don't know why that's the one coming to mind right now, but like games that are good, not great.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Is like I feel like you can point out flaws in everything and not have that not be a 10. That's just me personally. I was just
I think I
wondering
can
if
answer
you feel
this.
that way.
I think I can answer this. 9s are essentially 10s in their genre, and 10s are must play outside of genre. That's how
Yes.
I see
Yeah.
it.
I like
If
that.
you get something
I
a
actually
10,
really like that.
If you get something at 10, it's like, okay, whether you are into this genre or not, you have to at least dip your toe in this game because it is like the pinnacle of video games. Where if something is a 9, it's like this is like the top of the line for this genre. Like if you like this genre,
Yeah.
this is a must play for you.
I think
How
that's
I
what,
feel.
Yeah.
I
Go-
always
go for it,
harken.
James.
I always harken back to the IGN review for Metal Gear Solid 5, where people were getting upset that that got a 10 out of 10, and they kept coming back to, we don't think it's perfect, we think it's a masterpiece. And so while I may have like issues here and there, like my favorite video games, I have like some pretty glaring issues, but it's like the bedrock and what they were trying to achieve and how well they achieved it is a masterpiece. I think God of War perfectly executes on that. Like there's some things that, you know, so like I said, some combat things, there's some story things that I think could have used a little bit of work, but overall it's just a masterpiece.
Yeah. And like My biggest problems with 2018 is like enemy variety and then backtracking and like those deviants and this game gets rid of a lot of those and like in terms of the sidetracking, all building towards Ragnarok, and that's very like clearly laid out. And then there's one thing that's kind of a spoiler that was fixed in Ragnarok that I'm not going to say, and enemy variety has definitely been like drastically improved upon on this game. My only like gripe with this game is the puzzles. And that's just because I'm bad at them, honestly. There's one realm you visit early on where you got to deflect some stuff when throwing the axe, and I was like,
Yo.
where's the fucking angle to fucking get this thing?
So
I'm like, I was pissed.
not to get like too spoilery. Sorry, go ahead, Austin.
It's about puzzles. So if you're
Okay.
talking about puzzles,
So
then
I'm
go
talking
ahead.
about that specific one. That
Mhm.
puzzle mechanic is implemented into combat, and I was playing on Show Me No or Give Me No Mercy, and without using that mechanic, you're done for. And I think that I wanted to play the game differently. They wanted me to use this puzzle mechanic, and I didn't. It kind of goes back to the play with your food thing. I'm sure it was funner on an easier difficulty, but that is a puzzle specifically that like I had a really hard time with. The runic ones, without saying what that is, there's a few of those that like I tried for 45 minutes and I could just not figure the fuck out how they wanted me to do this shit.
Yeah,
When
absolutely.
it
And like,
comes, when it, sorry, if I may, when it comes
Yeah,
to
go for it.
those puzzles,
mhm.
I found that often I would attempt the correct solution first.
Yes.
Because like
Same.
I've played a lot of video games and it just wouldn't fucking work. And I have
Yeah.
no explanation why. It just wouldn't trigger. So I would do something slightly off. So then I'm like, that's not it. I'd go
Mhm.
attempt something else for 10 to 15 minutes. And then I come
Yeah.
back, I'm like, I guess I'll try this again. And then it goes. And I'm like, you son of a bitch. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I did this first. And
Yeah.
it didn't register. I don't know how to explain it.
And that's the exact same problem where I had where it's 3 a.m. I'm trying to get the right deflection, and then I'm like, no, okay, what if I hit it from this angle? And no, and I walk back to the first one, and I'm like, oh, what if I just go a smidge lower? And the smidge lower is like immediately gives me the right solution. I'm like, God, fucking damn it!
Yeah.
But then you use that same mechanic in combat. I'm like, okay, all is forgiven, dude. This fucking rips when you're just
No,
fucking beaming the axe. And it just
So
I
once I
understand that too. One more thing on puzzles, if I may, because Mimir and Atreus or whoever companion you're with, they will say like, give you like little hints, right, at
Mhm.
what you're doing. This is a clean 50-50 where I was like, shut the fuck up. I know what I'm doing. You're not helping. But then there were also times where like, oh, you should throw it over there. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
the amount of
Yeah.
It was a clean 50. Like it was either you need to never speak again, or oh my
Mhm.
god, thank you so much.
I have that same issue, but when they say, "Oh, look over there," there's been like 3 times where like I'm nowhere near them, so I have no idea where they're pointing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, say it again."
And then Mimir can't point.
It's like, oh, there, brother.
Yeah.
God damn it, dude.
So there is some things, real quick, just to kind of go ahead, Jordan, if it was still on this topic.
Oh, I was just gonna say with the puzzles personally, like I feel the deflecting one is just like it should have been a keep it simple stupid where you sometimes have to get a really weird angle, and I feel like it would have just been better if more of them were the most obvious solution. But I love that they tell you it's the right one before the color changes. I don't
Yes.
think that spoils too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The issue with the puzzles I'm having with where I'm at the game now is the introduction of a new game mechanic, and I don't think this is a spoiler because I'm just gonna say it with a color, but like the puzzles that involve purple arrows,
Okay.
those
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
those are more like I can figure them out, but I always forget that's an option until one of them says, "Hey, try it this way."
So
I totally agree in a sense where like this game just throws a lot of shit at you, and I'm like, oh right, I forgot I could do that, or I forgot this did this. Not even necessarily with puzzles, sometimes in combat as well.
those are the
Yeah.
runic puzzles that I was talking about, where like
Okay.
I see the path they want me to take, but I can't. If that makes sense, like, and then I don't know. There's quite a few of those. I've started to figure them out more, and I have noticed that in the main game they are way more straightforward than in the side quests. In the side
Yeah.
quests, they get real fucky real quick.
Mhm.
To kind of go like into some story stuff, because I feel like I've bitched about everything else. I love how Mimir
for it.
is kind of there, or your companion Atreus is kind of there to like explain some shit, and there's some dialogue that they have where like in my head like something's not making sense, gamer knowledge, and then they bring it up and they're like, we don't know how it works, it just does, and I'm like, all's fair in love and war. Like that totally makes it. You addressed this thing that wasn't even a big deal in my head, but I just love Mimir and Atreus, and like the dynamic they have with Brock and Sindri in this game is so fucking good.
Mimir is still the best character in all video games, in my opinion.
Yes.
And he's just a fucking head. Like he's just chilling. There's often times where like it will go into like a combat cutscene and you see Mimir's head just dangling there, like with a massive creature like doing this shit around like Kratos' like
Dude,
I'm like, Mimir, look out! Dude, come on!
So to go back to the Mimir point, there's a point where Atreus asks, why aren't you on front so you can see everything? And he's like, oh no, I get blood, like viscous all over myself, like, and I can't wipe it off.
I don't think I got that.
You may not be
I don't
there.
think I got that dialogue, because what I was just about to say is like, I sometimes feel so bad for Mimir, because one, dude's trying to help and is looking the opposite direction. Two, when you lose, Kratos' animation sometimes falls backwards, and I'm like, now we lost Mimir too. Like Kratos is nothing but a wall. He just crushed that fucking head.
That cheek, he just got smashed in those cheeks, bro.
Yeah. And then poor Kratos, during these entire years, has never been able to let out one fart, and just like, darn.
Yeah.
Do you think Mimir can smell? Because I feel like he's just ripping them left and right, and maybe he's blaming it on like his blades. But he doesn't have lungs.
To be fair, I guess it can't smell as bad as like a decapitated head.
And like I feel like
at the bottom.
his blades of chaos have to smell like sulfur or something. So like he's just letting them fly.
Yeah, I do like you were saying. I love like a lot of the conversations that are had outside of cutscenes and like big poignant moments. And I love the fact that this game just immediately follows up with something like Kratos and Atreus will be talking about something, and then you'll kind of like go through a rock, and like you're like, well, that didn't necessarily end there, and then they bring it back up again, and they like, there's nothing to be left resolved, because they just immediately just follow back up and start talking.
Totally
emotions.
agree. Except for when they say, "What's the point of having a shield if you're not gonna block?" Like, fuck you.
Yeah, man.
Bro, I'm a parry fiend in this game, and what happens is I have the dauntless shield. Like, there's different shields; they work differently. The one I use has a parry mechanic that you can then like charge up and hit them with. I get too horny and just immediately hit them with it, and if they have like a double combo, I'm getting axed. Like,
I'm using that same shield.
There's a shield that gives you just a bigger parry window, and I had that one because I suck at parrying in every video game ever. So I'm like, thank you. Like I need that. Awesome.
Right. So I'm using the one Chance is talking about, where it's high risk, high reward, and I suck at parrying. But I'm like, listen, Jedi Survivor and Tears of the Kingdom come out next year. It's I gotta get good now. So I put a runic that makes the parry window a little bit bigger on that shield, but I'm still fucking up like a lot.
So you have to like, they're connecting with you, and you'll notice that the game like skips a little bit, like it'll stop, and that's it. That's when you hit it.
The thing that fucked me up is that there is no true animation for it. Like not every time.
Yeah. And that's fucked me up on more than a couple boss fights. Like doing a parry, like I'm dancing around. I have like one hit left on me, and then the animation breaks, and I like anyway. Having said that, this is like one of the most polished games I've ever played in my life. Now, granted, I am used to playing From Software games where like they're polished in certain ways and not in others, but it just is so polished, and every environment looks so good.
Oh, the environments, I could just gush about the environments all day. But the one bug, I wouldn't even call it a bug that I experienced, is you can ride on dog sled in this game at certain segments to get from point A to point B. And I went to get off the dog sled, and it just started vibrating like crazy. And Atreus is stuck in there, and he's like running, and he's like, oh, I can't go that way. Turns around, starts running. Oh, turns around, and he's just stuck in there. And this thing's like for like a solid 5 minutes. I recorded it. I'm like, this is just hilarious. I don't call that that's a feature.
Yeah.
It made me laugh, like whatever.
So I had something happen, and I'm sorry, Josh, but I need to address this because I do not know if this is a bug or a feature. I got to like the second boss fight where you're fighting like a big dragon lizard thing, and I was playing on Give Me Balance. I always like to start a game at normal and adjust based off my experience.
Right,
guys, this dragon was whooping my ass every single time, and I was like, I got to get through this game. Let me drop it down to Give Me Grace, and I'm still doing fucking horrible. I go back to the settings. It didn't let me switch. It put me back at Give Me Balance, and I was doing it multiple times and letting it reload. Still, I restart the game like the next day. I'm like, fuck it, time to get good. restart the game the next day, go into the settings on the menu where it's like continue, new game, load game. There is no difficulty mechanic in that menu. Go back to the regular, go into the game, check the settings. Now it's at give me grace. And I just tried to, and I was like, maybe that was a one-time bug. PS5's been through multiple power cycles since then. Tried again today to give me story so I could know more for this review. Fucking again, Corey Barlog is saying, nah, get good, bitch. Like,
So that did happen to me because I changed my difficulty a couple days ago, if I'm being honest, and I don't know if it took or not because I did like bump it down yesterday to give me balance. So I'll get back to you on that because that may be a bug because it definitely happened to me as well, where like I was on give me anyway.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the most polished games, like you said. The only two glitches I've had, or like bugs, was like that boss fight. First of all, fucking whipped my ass, and then I finished that boss fight, and there's a very poignant, like just emotional cutscene after that, and the compass was still up during the cutscene, and like the compass goes away during those like one-shot cutscenes and stuff like that when it's like in the fields, and so like. The camera's panning back and forth between two characters hashing it out, and it's going from like west to east, like over their foreheads. I'm like, man, this is just pulling me out of this conversation right now. Like Kratos is opening up, and I'm like, oh, he's going from east to south. I'm watching the camera, just, actually go around this this room. And then one time in the like, a couple times in the menus, I'd like. The UI not the absolute best, but like cycling through weapons and stuff like that. Like I'd cycle to the Leviathan axe, and Kratos is just holding nothing. He's just standing there like this. Like that happened to me, but like two minor things.
I don't know what pommel I've put on my blades or on my axe until I like go back into the game because that's broken as fuck for me. Like he's not holding anything, and then when he's supposed to hold up his axe, he'll like bring it up for a second, and he's like, "That's all you get," and like pull it back down immediately. And I'm like, "What does it look like?"
I never had that.
I'm jealous because that axe,
the only bug I had is the one where I had a vibrating dog sled. That's the only one in the entire experience. So.
Other question on if this is a bug or a feature. If you try to switch your equipment in the field and not at like Brock or Sindri's shop, it doesn't show you the stats, right? Kind of stuck remembering.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah. It's in the top left. Armor, at least. It's in the top left.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, this is what we're like. The menus are convoluted. Like, they're not the easiest to run through. So, like, they've redone the way that like your axe looks and like how you interact with it to like the menu for the axe and how you interact with it to put on your pommel and the two runes that you have. And that whole system could have used a lot more refinement. I personally rathered the God of War 2018 menu. I just played through that last month, and I thought that menu was pretty slick for what it was trying to do. And I feel like they were trying to incorporate too many things. They kind of got lost in the weeds on this one. Because there's some walls of text on that menu.
Yeah. We're bouncing around here. In terms of combat, there was just way too much, in my opinion. There was way too many things of gear, too many pummels and all that crap for me. Where I was just like, I'm just gonna lean whatever gives me the most defense because that is comforting to me, and I don't want to just like even make a decision like this. I just decided that right at the beginning, and that's what I did. And, you said that there were stats in the top left. Never once noticed it. No, not a single time. I would just go to the upgrade and said, now it does this, and I see the stats when you upgrade it, but I would never see it currently. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. I played the first game. I think like there's a lot there, but you can definitely find and sort what works best to you. And like for me, I'm a basic ass bitch. I just upgraded the first armor piece you got all the way through, and then you
low key, that's the best looking armor in the whole fucking game.
100%.
Like I've been it gives you shit stats, but like the ones where it's just like the two shoulder like things that looks like spandex or snakeskin, most hideous armor set I have ever seen.
Yes, man.
And it has the best stats. What the fuck? Like I hate it.
I walked it for a while, and there was a point where I just said, "Fuck it, I don't care anymore. I'm taking that shit off."
It makes him look like a stripper for Chippendales. Like stop.
Wait, and that's a negative of the game?
I like a bad stripper though. Like he couldn't afford it's a skeezy thing. Like he doesn't look good. Kratos is an
Yeah.
attractive man, and that makes him look like a
Apparently,
lot lizard.
transmog comes in at like level 5 or level 9. I mean,
Yeah, so you have to upgrade it the whole fucking way before you can make it look different.
Yeah, and then like
Since we're go ahead.
I was just gonna we'll keep to gear and combat a little bit more here, but like yeah, I was going solely based on like aesthetics and like minor stats for changing things. There's definitely a lot. And, like I remember I went through New Game Plus difficulty on the first game, living when I lived with my best friend who's a big RPG guy, and he's like, hold on, show me these menus again. And like in 5 minutes, he gave me the best possible build to just whoop every Valkyrie's ass. And I was like, thanks, bro. I appreciate that. But also now with this game, I'm just gonna be a basic ass bitch again and just go on what looks great and like what's there. So it's like, to me, I think if the options are there, if you want to build like some incredible strength build or luck build or anything, but like if you want to also just be a basic bitch, you can just be a basic bitch with this one, and nothing wrong with
I
that.
agree. I agree that the options are there. Me, I get anxiety, and I'm like, if I do it this way, am I just playing the game wrong? Like, am I? Because I die a lot, and I played on the second easiest difficulty.
I'm dying
I
more
was
in this
like-
game than I do like Soulsborne games. It is very
Okay,
difficult.
so that wasn't just me for one. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Oh, but like I always have that fear in the back of my head. Like, am I dying because of what I'm deciding to put on my character or what I'm deciding to do in combat? Like, the way I won combat scenarios was just like using my light runic or whatever relic. What runic? I think it's runic.
Yeah,
Using my light runic, using my heavy runic, switching to the other weapon. Repeat. I don't want to spoil anything else besides by saying that, but like, that's how I got through fights. It was just mashing, doing a combo I like, till my other after using all of my runics, and then just rinse and repeat. That's how I got through fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
where I think like what I talk about when I have issues with the combat is I think for as much health as the enemies take away from you every hit, the combat isn't personally tight enough to justify that. I think that they need to dial back how much they're taking off of you, because there's some semi-boss, you know, like they don't have the name pop up or anything, but they'll hit you twice and you're dead. And to me, that's like a Melania thing, not a fucking Draugr out in the middle of nowhere thing. And so I do feel like there was some balancing that they could have done, because I don't think that it needs to be tighter. I think that the way it is fits really well, but the amount of health they take off versus the risk and reward is kind of offset, because the amount of damage you're doing isn't negotiable to how much they're doing damage on you if you like really look at it.
I
Yeah.
totally agree. I think 2018, I felt like you did more damage in 2018, but I also haven't played it since.
No, you did.
then,
You
so-
did. I played it on the same difficulty, and that's why one of the issues I have is I feel like you're nerfed quite a bit. I am constantly underleveled for every area I go to. I'm one level below them all the time, and I've spent 30 hours. I've done every side quest, so I should be higher, right? And so that's off my soapbox now about combat.
I'm on the same level as Austin, where like I'll go into a fight, I'm right around the same level. If they're like level 4, I'm level 4. Maybe I'm level 5 and a couple level 4s, and I'm just using the like runic attacks. And then I've like gone into there's a huge skill tree of just moves and stuff like that, all which you can activate and deactivate. And I just kind of went through, picked which ones are kind of the best, and I'd be like, okay, well, you know, I can do the whole heavy R2 on the axe and like hold into someone and throw them, and like that, like you just pick and choose the moves that you want out of that set. And then
Low-key, one of my
another big
favorite
thing-
moves in the entire game. That always looks
Hey,
so
100%.
cool.
Loki. He
Yeah.
said Loki.
And then another thing I liked here is you use the Blades of Chaos as a traversal mechanic to get around
Yo.
combat arenas this time, which that added such like that did wonders in terms of the verticality of arenas and shit like that, and make like mixing things up. So I'd like whip up, go fight some dudes, and then do the fucking death from above move, just come down on enemies, and it's just so fucking satisfying to do that shit. And the traversal that the Blades of Chaos give you in combat arenas is incable.
And I love how if you have
times I would just
real quick on the
times I,
go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. The amount of times I would just fucking mash people, and I knew I was being surrounded by people, and I would just sprint and use the thing where you go up the ledge and then look down and then do that. The amount of times I did that and I felt like I was cheating was too much. Too much. Where I would just like take hits, get them all around me, go up, slam down, and then just mash buttons, and then because once you hit them like from above, they're kind of like stunned or whatever, so you're just like da 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 da, and you just get a big pile of them dead. And I'm like, haha, I cheated.
So which weapon are y'all going into an encounter first with? Which one do you prefer out of the Leviathan axe and the Blades of Chaos?
For me, it's dependent upon the like the enemy types, right? Because there's a lot more this time around. And so, like with bigger enemies, none that I like necessarily want to specifically name or give away, but like
I know
like,
the type
I'll
of
go
enemies
in-
you're talking about.
Yeah, I'll go in with like the blades, right? And then for like more like foot soldiers and stuff like that, I'll just go I like the axe feels so good, like close and personal with them. I love the mechanic this time around too, where you can basically rev them up, like
Yes.
holding triangle, and you fucking just give them that freeze, or you like fucking whip the chain, and it's so fucking badass. And like adding the effects, like the winter, like the frost and the flame effects is incredible.
What about
I
you?
bounce back
perks-
so much.
Perks or upgrades that I enjoyed the most were the ones where you get that like instantly by doing a set action. Like there was one where like if you start sprinting at them
Yes.
and just tap
Yes.
triangle, you instantly get frost, or you instantly get whatever the flame equivalent is.
Right.
Those are my
Oh, I
favorite
need that
things. Is
one.
like I would never even I would forget that was a thing when I'm in
Same.
combat. I just go straight to mash in, and I'm like, oh shit! After I'm done, and I just took half my health is gone. I'm like, we should have done the thing, whatever. Yeah, I the first half of the game I mained the axe, and
Okay.
the second
Yeah.
half of the game I mained the Blades of Chaos for like the reach essentially.
So I'm in
as they
actually in a
say.
very similar boat because I love the blades. I love the axe the most. Like that is God of War to me personally because I didn't beat the old games. I played some of them, but I neglected the Blades of Chaos like the entire first half of the game, and I'm realizing now that like so in 2018 I always used the axe for distance. That was the thing I was throwing. I would never use the L2 attacks on with the blades.
Right.
And now I'm finding it's the opposite where like if somebody's at a distance, I'm grabbing them and doing the double whip thing and getting them off the ground with their buddies. I still prefer the axe, but like Josh was saying, the larger enemies, they just have such a better reach to get like if you have the axe and you don't take that extra step, you're not going to hit. But if you don't with the blades, you're more likely to connect. What about you, Jordan?
I've been maining the axe when it's like smaller encounters, but if it's big groups, especially where it's like larger swarms of things that die in 1 to 2 hits, that I'm just whipping those blades like it's nobody's business. I'm not even aiming. I'm just like, I'll get you eventually.
Yeah.
The only thing with the combat that I've had like an issue with because it feels great has been to an extent the formula of like you go up here, there's these guys, you go up there's different guys that are still kind of foot soldiers, then there's a mini boss fight, then there's a boss fight that doesn't really play into the story, but it's there for them to be like, we had enemy variety. The biggest thing that stuck out to me today was, and I'm going to try to be as spoiler free as possible as I can, but
I will stop you if you start.
okay. Basically, it's one of the levels where you are on the sled and you are trying to track something down.
Okay.
Does everyone know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
There's one section where you get off the sled, you go up and you go, I think it's here. You go up and
It's right where my sled started vibrating, for the record.
okay. You get up and there is a mini boss that spawns. It's kind of like a flame based enemy is the most I'll say to not spoil anything.
Yeah.
Incredibly tough. I kept fucking going at it until I beat it, just to find out that boss fight was not mandatory. Because after it goes, oh, the thing's not here, go back. But I probably could have just avoided the boss fight. I think it's like, oh, nope, this isn't where it is. Turn around. It did not indicate that at all.
So is this boss type something that you find in other places?
I found it once earlier in the game behind a closed door, so that one was very obvious that this is optional.
So
and I found
that
it in one of the
is-
very early
Leave the damn-
levels.
leave
I
the
know-
damn door closed.
I know the exact encounter that you're talking about, and I I took it as this is going out of my way to get this knocked out because I'm here. I did not think that was part of that quest. On a side note, that quest is fucking awesome. Like the
Yeah.
the conclusion to that quest and the things that are said made it all worth it, because I had an issue with that quest as well with some of the enemies. Not
Interesting.
that one too, because that enemy type is fairly hard. But
I
Yeah.
encountered that enemy, Jordan, and I don't know how I knew this, but I knew it was optional. I can't give you an answer as to why I knew, but I got my ass fucking just destroyed by this dude, and I said, "Fuck that." I just
So-
went, nope.
Yeah.
I had
So
already
the first time.
I had already killed
Sorry.
4 or 5 of them by the time I hit that
Gotcha.
one. So that's why I like kind of knew what I was getting myself
Because
into.
when I ran into the first one in a very earlier level, and it was you had to open the door to trigger it, part of me was just like, all right, I'm 200 leveled for this part. Like, it's whatever. Maybe I'll come back here someday, maybe I won't. And then I saw it, and I was like, oh, this is the real one you have to fight, isn't it? Took like a fucking half hour. Again, not letting me switch difficulty. As for them to be like, all right, where to next? I was like, the fuck you mean where to next?
Right. Transitioning a little bit from combat, more into just side stuff and exploration. Have we discovered the Berserkers? Have you guys done that? Basically, this game's Valkyries.
I don't think that's a
have you
spoiler
guys-
either, because like everybody has
No.
they've already been talked about. I'm pretty sure they're in. I actually feel
Yeah.
like that the Valkyries have been split up into different enemies. I feel like there's like
Yeah.
4 or 5, because the enemy type he's talking about, I feel like is like some of that experience, if that makes sense. Where like you're going
Right.
out to find these things. I have, and I've only gotten 2 of them. The Berserkers.
First one whooped my ass. Second one I did leading up right to the big poignant moment, and I was like, hold on. They're like, you want to go explore some stuff? And I was like, sure. What's this tombstone? Should I even worry about it? 45 attempts later, I'm like, I finally got it done. I'm ready to roll credits, dude. I'm
this-
done.
Which one? Okay, because again, without spoiling too much, you find like a hilt.
Yes.
Ye-
The mirror
Yes.
is like, is that what you're talking about? Is
Yeah.
it those things?
And
Oh,
then
yeah,
you
yeah,
stick it in the
exactly.
tombstone.
Yes, I have not
Yeah.
found these.
I went by a
these guys.
tombstone, and Mimira was just like, maybe don't. Like, maybe just keep going, bud.
You do
Yeah.
pass one right when you find it, and he tells you not to. When you find the artifact to then unlock that side quest, he says like, we're not ready for this right now. And
Right.
that was the easiest one I've encountered so far, is the one he said you weren't ready for, and I wasn't ready for it when he said. Like I came back a few hours later, not trying it at all, and it still kicked my ass twice.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's very much, to me, those ones are the equivalent to the Valkyries, because like the walls come up. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you're just locked in this. I'm pressing the focus button to like make sure I'm typically like, I don't press the like lock on
Same.
enemy button unless it's like one-on-one encounter, and I'm locking on, and we're fucking one of us is making it out alive. And 45 times it's not me. On the 46, it's me making it out alive.
I do really like those encounters, because I feel like that makes me start pulling stuff out of my trick bag that I don't usually use, right? Like the special, like I've noticed that the special combos that you can unlock do more frost damage or do more fire damage, and so I'm like trying to get as many of them in as possible. Once he gets unstunned, I'm hitting him with my rune attacks, and then I'm switching to blades or something, or back to the axe. And I do really like that. I think the Valkyries were so hype that
Yeah.
aspect is just a part of the game that is fun. It's a challenging thing, but I preferred the Valkyries, because like Mimir always had something to say about the Valkyries that was like very insightful. But
Right.
as an experience, I think they are really fun, and I do think they hold that place really well.
Absolutely. And then on that, has there been anything else side content wise, even like side quest wise, that's like stood out to you or seemed like a lot more different from the first game? Does it seem like it's more of the first game when it comes to side content? How are we feeling on that? Because that is like, outside of the main quest and the combat, that is a big part of the game. Like they will tell you, hey, we're in this realm, we have time to do stuff, or we can go back. How are we feeling about it, Austin?
As someone who literally main path this and nothing else, the only note I have on that, but I feel like it's worth mentioning, is the fact that I think they adequately throw in like, hey, if you don't want to continue, now is the time to explore. Like that
Right.
happens throughout the entire game, like 6 or 7 times. I think like that's good in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
if you it's the equivalent to like go into like the final chapter and it's like before you go into this final chapter, if you want to do anything else, you can't. So if you want to attempt this chapter, like right now, you can't go back anymore. So like warning, like it's the
Right.
equivalent of that in like games of the past, and I love that, and I also think it's thrown in at the right time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
never just like boom 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 boom.
So
Yeah.
That's my only note on that.
I had received a side quest prior to encountering one of those, and I was actually kind of getting bugged. I'm like, when am I going to be able to peel off of this main story to go get that side quest taken care of? Because it was very interesting. It's the one that has to do with Mimir.
Right.
Have you guys done that one at all?
No.
Okay.
In
I won't say what it. I was. Yeah, I'm not going to say even where. Yeah, yeah.
I think I know what you're talking about. Great quest.
A really good quest, and it like really humanizes Mimir in a way.
Yeah.
But I think that they are timed out perfectly, and I will say you can go back. Like if you're super into the story and you want to keep trudging through it, but you don't want to miss out on this side quest. Like I hit a point last night where they were like, "Hey, maybe go do some side quests," and I went and knocked out like 4 just back to back to back. Like went to all different realms, all of them, and Austin nailed it.
Yeah, and I like that they present it as like a or sort of situation. They're like, hey, there's still things to do in this realm, or we could get back to this thing, which is related to the
depending on
main
what realm
story.
you're in, they remind you. They're like, hey, we could go do blah 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 with detail. Like they're like, hey,
Right.
remember that dude we encountered who had the thing? And it's like, oh yeah, okay, let's go do that.
Yeah, and go for it, Jordan.
I was gonna say I golden pathed the original, and I've been golden pathing this one. And again, that's kind of why I like this game design better than Horizon's, where Horizon almost forced you to do side stuff, or else you were vastly underleveled. This one changed.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were maybe a level under, but like as a whole, like I feel like the game is designed in a way where it does. Again, it encourages both play styles because like, and obviously the like in-game context of these two games is going to be vastly different. But it's not like in Spider-Man where you do something and then you basically have to do some sort of side stuff, whether it's a crime or a side mission or a radio tower, like until the next chapter opens up. Like
Right.
they don't do that. You can just go from story beat to story beat, which I'm really enjoying.
Yeah, that was absolutely like fantastic. Without waiting for the phone call from Aunt May to be like, "Hey, yo, you come down to feast." You're not waiting around for that. I thought that was like very well done.
So
Incorporated.
I personally think that I have gotten so much more out of the game because I'm stopping to do these things, and I have noticed just how much more the world is being built out. And like the Mimir one, he mentioned something about that quest way later in the game, and it just like I really appreciate how they took the time to make like, hey, somebody might have completed this quest, we should like maybe it just. And maybe they do that for everybody, but I really appreciate the time and attention that they took into these side quests and the story. There's another one with Mimir. It's in Midgar, and that one it was phenomenal. Like it really showed a different side of Mimir. He's the best. Go ahead,
The
Austin.
other reason.
You just reminded me. Like I think this game is, in terms of its writing, they will introduce lore that you encounter later. Or it's like they will just do a little random thing that's like, oh yeah, I think I've heard of that in Norse mythology, and then you encounter said creature or whatever, like by name, not like a thing, like by name, and you're like, oh, you were like 2 chapters ago, you just said you mentioned this dude, and you're like, oh my god, I have to fight this thing now? What the? So like, I think that's awesome, and they do that so many times, whether. Even in the main line, the Golden Path, like that happens so many times in the main story, as well as because I know there's a bunch of side content where it's like it totally mentioned a character and he pops up later and you're like, oh, and then that's totally an optional thing and you're like, that's fucking cool. Like they will drop little tidbits like 2 or 3 chapters before you encounter it, and I'm like, you motherfuckers! Like I only know what this is because you literally mentioned it before, and now I'm like intrigued. You fucker! Goddamn.
Yeah.
But it's like the perfect storytelling because like I know Norse mythology. Like I have a whole Norse mythology leg tattoo. It was something that it is something I'm very passionate about, and I love the way that they have taken the source material and really, I don't mean it negatively, but twisted it and made it different and like shot it from a different perspective, and just Atreus being Loki, I feel like was the start of that. And in this game, I feel like it's not at that level, but I just keep getting hit back to back with like these changes to somebody that I feel like I kind of know something about, and it's always in like the most clever ways. And I almost said something spoilery, so I'm gonna turn my time away.
Yeah, Jordan, you had something to say?
Yeah, I think with this one, I might go back and do some of the side content, because one of the things I did notice, and to an extent like, is that canonically, Kratos and Atreus did all the side stuff in the last game.
Yes.
I don't think this is a huge spoiler.
Yeah.
Like, they talk about fighting the Valkyries. They reference it in this game, even though I did not fight a single Valkyrie in 2018. And so I think that's a really good world building thing, but then it also does get into the thing with, and this game I think is more towing the line with it, where like, well, for those who main passed, are we ever going to get to a point where like we don't understand something? Where like, I know it's the third time I brought the game up. Like, if you didn't play the Spider-Man DLC, you're really missing out on something for like a major character. When the second one drops, you're gonna be like, wait, what the fuck happened to that?
Oh, so I haven't played the DLC, so I'm fucked.
You need to play that DLC.
I think
Okay,
that's more
okay.
credit to the writing, because
Not
as
even the
someone
DLC,
who
it's a
also-
side mission in the DLC. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just need to get that out.
As someone who also only main path for the most part, I did more side stuff in 2018 than I did in this one, because I did literally 0 in this one, and then in 2018 I did a little bit. I dabbled, but as someone who only dabbled and they would bring up things that are side content, I understood what they were. And I don't know if that's just because it's been a while, so I learned about these things, but I still think that's credit to the writing team of like the way in which they bring these up, and how like, it's usually maybe a sentence or two that they'll sprinkle in every once in a while. It's never like a huge story beat that you need to understand. I just think it's like they'll say something and you're like, oh fuck, you're like, I totally remember that, like that exactly.
Yeah. I found like a really good comparison just thinking about a conversation me and Austin had right before we recorded. This game is what Gold and Silver is to Red and Blue, where no matter how you played Red and Blue, they will mention the stuff that happened, and the protagonist from that game is at the end of that game. Spoilers for a 25-year-old game, but like Red from the save file you did has a canon arc, even if you did none of that, and it does kind of feel like that, where it's another thing where I think we're in the age of duologies, where these games are two sides of the same coin. They're a part 1 and a part 2. They are not a sequel.
Which
That being said, I can tell that this was initially intended to be a trilogy. That shows to me, not negatively, just in the terms of how much shit happens in this game. Like, I mean, they go so many realms, they do so much shit. Like, a lot happens in this game, and a lot of it, I don't think it feels rushed. I also don't think it necessarily all of it feels entirely fleshed out the way they intended or would have wanted to do it. I think it all succeeds in the beats work when they come up, but I'm like, I could have used a little more of A, B, and C for this character and this character interacting as such, or coming to this conclusion or whatever.
Where I am in the game, I feel like I'm at a point where, because I said the other day I was at a chapter because I looked up the name of the path list and just look it up, and like,
I was like, there's chapters?
and there were so many more, they call them paths in this game. There were so many more paths than I expected, and I think I am at the point in the game where the chapters or paths, whatever you want to call them, are significantly shorter than the ones at the beginning. And I don't know if that continues, or if it like goes back to being, if the ones in the end are as long as the ones in the beginning. But kind of in the middle, it does feel like, oh, you're going from chapter to chapter pretty damn fast.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of the story, and then like, the final couple path quests are definitely like, it goes back to similar to how it is in the beginning of like, they are longer. They've specified this is it though, right? This is the end of the Norse
or the Norse
saga.
Yeah.
The Norse saga. I can't say things that I want to say, but there's a certain spin-off thing that I want to happen involving a different character that I think is totally written all over the ending of this game. That's all I will say.
There are people on Twitter asking for the next game to be about Christianity's gods.
It's not. That's
Kill
not
Jesus,
down.
please,
That's
God, kill Jesus.
Can you imagine the shitstorm that would happen in this country? Because like, listen, I have enough like Christian guilt with my family. Like, I wouldn't play it, but you do you type of thing.
Kratos punching the shit out of Jesus.
But
Like,
can
are
they
you
be
kidding
mad
me?
because he's already killed 2 other like people's gods,
Yeah.
right? Because there's still people who practice Norse
Our
mythology, and
gods are
there's
special, Chance.
look, I'm an
I'm
atheist. No god
picturing-
is special. Like, come on, like, kill them all.
Dude, and Corey, feel free to use this idea. I'm picturing Joseph in his fucking boat, and it's just full of enemies, and you just have to kill them all. It's a huge set piece, man. You're just fucking fighting two of
You mean
each other,
Noah?
like fucking
You just have the
animal.
Book of
Noah's
Mormon,
Ark.
the plates.
Yeah.
Bah, bah.
Yeah, man.
See,
You're
I'm
throwing the
imagining a
plates
scene-
at him.
Corey.
Yeah.
I said Corey, and for some reason I thought Corey Cudney.
Yeah, I did
Oh,
too.
no.
All right,
Corey
I got it.
Barlog, you
got
take
it.
this
Got it.
Noah's Ark, fucking, you just have it. Man.
See, I'm imagining a scene where he goes to stab Jesus in the hand, and Jesus' hands, like with the hole in it, just goes through the axe or whatever, and just chokes him out.
Yeah, man. But I think for this being the end of the Norse myth, like the Norse mythology, I think everything's tied up well, and I think like that speaks like to the credit of the writing and everything. Like, and Austin was saying, if something's brought up, it comes back later, and it's all paid off in such a like satisfying way, whether it's through main quest stuff or even side quest stuff, and like that's I think the side quest like if you're not gonna go for every chest and every raven, I think like at least play the side quests because they're just as impactful as some of the main quests, honestly.
I would second
note,
that.
we brought up paths and how you feel like it goes like it moves at a pretty good click fairly quickly from path to path to path. I would say, and Josh brought up the point that's like the nature of the narrative. I would argue that it's quick because, or Josh, you thought it was quick because you main path. Did you main path most of it?
And this is also speaking to the side content too. I main pathed a lot of it except for like the second night I was in Svartalheim. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do some more side quests. And then when I was in Vanaheim, I did a lot of side quests there. I main pathed it, but like ADHD brain, if I saw a chest, I'm like, all right, we're stopping. We're spending 20 minutes on this. Okay,
On this
Atreus?
Norn chest
Yeah.
that fuck the Norn chests, dude.
Yeah, man.
There's so many
Yeah.
of them in this goddamn game.
I was like
Yeah.
Josh, where I was main pathing the story, but if I saw a hallway and knew I needed to go to the other one, I was like, well, what's down this one? Like, I was doing that thing.
You get paranoid.
Also, shout out to this game for just making a very easy button telling you which way your objective is, and that way you don't accidentally trigger a cutscene and miss out.
Wait,
what's
what?
before. Maybe that's an accessibility setting, but there is a setting in this game where if you click R3, Kratos will turn, like if there's two hallways, Kratos will turn this way, which means, that's the right way. And then you could go to the other one, get a chest or a collectible, whatever.
Yo, I'm going to
and then
change a setting
I
because
wish
I've fucked that
wish
up like
I had
3
Yes.
times.
and
what,
like
what I was trying to
Go
get
for
at is
it.
I think the nature of the like pacing in this game going from path to path to path, I think it is designed for you to do side content because in my opinion, the way I was going through things, because it felt kind of, there were certain things that felt, again, not rushed, but there's like it could have been fleshed out a little bit more in how people came to conclusions or how you made this leap in logic. I think it is generally designed for you to do side content at least a little bit in between each path.
Yeah, I think I think there's that, but like I think it's also the nature of like, okay, well, we've spent so much time on point B, we have to now get back to point A, right? Before like people start like forgetting what's even happening on point A or anything like that. It's like we've diverted so long on this path, we have to get back to what the other cast is doing.
The narrative almost feels, and this one I'd say is more specific to Ragnarok than it is with 2018, where the narrative almost feels designed like a Zelda quest where we have to get item A, but to get item A, you have to get items 1, 2, and 3. But before you can get 1, 2, and 3, you have to do like lowercase a, lowercase b, lowercase c. But instead of that being the entire mission,
Then you find out you
structure-
can't even get item A, which you wanted before.
Yeah.
So you get item A secondary.
Yeah.
Basically.
Hey, bravo.
But it seems like the story is designed that way rather than the quests themselves, if that makes a lot of sense. Because the example I gave to Liaren the other day, because she had never played 2018, she goes, is the whole game just them walking up a single mountain? I was like, yes and no. And the comparison I made was like, you know how Harold and Kumar only need to get to White Castle? but shit keeps happening. Like it's like that.
That is a
So
really
good.
good
You're
comparison.
not wrong.
So
You're
we
not
have
wrong.
Yeah.
Kumar and Zelda as a duology.
But to like
Yeah.
double back to that point, I feel like that's always how God of War games have been. I went back and there's a YouTuber named Gingy, highly recommend, who did a retrospective and kind of a breakdown of all of the games because I hadn't played most of them. And he kind of talks about the story beats, and like that seems to have been like a consistent thing through these games is like you need item A, but to get A, like you had said. And so
Yeah.
I haven't
Yeah.
felt that way personally, that it's like I'm constantly chasing a carrot. I do feel like
I'm talking more about the narrative structure than the level design itself, where,
Yeah.
and without spoilers,
Right.
there is an end
Yeah.
goal in this game. But to do
Yeah.
that, you need to meet up with person B. And so you go on the quest to find person B. After that, they go, hey, you know what? We actually might need to go and get item A. Like,
Yeah.
but it's all part of the narrative where, as far as the levels go, maybe I'm remembering wrong. The levels themselves feel a little bit more on the rails than 2018.
Oh,
But
100%.
but the narrative is, to do this, I have to do this, and to do that, I have to do that.
Yeah. And like I was saying, like it's a lot less offensive this time around to me personally because the whole point is not climbing the mountain. The whole point is Ragnarok. And no matter what you're doing at any point along the story, you can always point it back to like this has to do with something within the prophecies within Ragnarok, right? So I feel like it's a lot less offensive that way around. But I've loved this discussion so far. I want to end with final thoughts and give me what you'd rate it so far. Chance, you want to take it away?
Final thoughts. Sony Santa Monica really blew it out of the park. I understand why Greg Miller thinks that Kratos is the best character in video games. I think that Christopher Judge deserves all of the flowers on this. I think there's a lot of people in this game that I won't mention who deserve flowers. There's just a lot of really good writing, and if you're not playing this game, what the fuck are you doing with your life? I would rate it as of right now, like it's a masterpiece. It's a 10 out of 10, and I don't see that changing just based off of the game I've played so far. I have put 30 hours into it, so I've played a fucking shit ton, and if it's still a 10 out of 10, I don't think it's going to change.
Beautiful. Jordan?
What Chance said, I mean, they really put their Sony Santa Mussy into this. Like they gave this their
I
all.
don't think that's what he said. I really don't think that's what he said. I was there.
Yeah, revisionist history. That's exactly what he said.
But no, like this game really has its all. Like I'm about halfway through, and I think right now, like unless somehow the ending is the most atrocious thing I've ever seen, like I'm assuming it's gonna stay where it is, where it's just like I would say like a 9.5 to 10 out of 10. Like this combat isn't my personal favorite, but I can objectively see how it's incredible. So I mean, yeah, like I don't know what else I can say. Like this game is a masterpiece.
Personal, it might be a 9.5, but if
But
you were to
objectively a 10.
yeah.
Yeah. Austin?
I think I'm objective, or personally it's a 9, objectively it's a 9.5, because I really didn't like certain aspects of the combat. But again, that's also just because that's who I am. So objectively that would put it 9.5. And I think it's a 9.5 to me because I love 2018. And I know that's kind of not fair in a way, but
Right.
what 2018 did,
Yeah.
Kratos as a character, I can't undersell that anymore than they did the impossible. Like I did not give a shit about Kratos as a character. He was just, in my mind, literally the only vision I had of Kratos is him going, Calliope! That's it. That's it.
Right.
Nothing else.
The famous
So-
Calliope.
So, the fact that in this game, so I'll give this game its flowers in terms of its narrative. They do with Kratos as a character. They take what 2018 did to Kratos as a character, and they improve on that somehow even more in this, to where the conclusion to his arc with his son. I love it so much. It's so good, and it's there's writing on the wall in some of it in a way where I'm like, I can see this coming, and I didn't give a shit because it's done so goddamn well. That's what
Right.
I'll say.
Yeah. My final score, I'm giving this a 10. Like I have some small gripes with puzzles and like a little bit of combat, but other than that, like they knocked this one out of the park, dude. I think this is like a
Fuck.
once they fuck and they fuck hard,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I think this is a one in a generation kind of game. I don't think we're ever gonna get like at least maybe not from Sony Santa Monica. I don't think we're gonna get something like this again, at least within the PS5 lifespan. I think they'll still go on to do fantastic things, but like this is just once in a generation game, and it's so beautifully executed. I love the story, the themes that they implant, the fact that they can expand the scope but still have it captivate me the entire way through with the new characters introduced, with everything like introduced, set up, like incredible. The visuals, everything. And like, yes, it's more in 2018, but that's still more of a great thing. But it also has the bells and whistles of the PS5. So like, goddamn, this is just a step up all around. But
Different realms. I cannot stress this enough. The different realms, when you go from realm to realm and how fucking beautiful each one is distinctively different and yet
Mhm.
breathtaking, I'm like, fuck. Like,
even
if
though
you just
even
gave
though
me a walking simulator of
Yeah.
just going from realm to realm, I would play that.
Yeah.
And I would love every second of it.
even the ones you revisit from 2018, there's something different. They still look absolutely gorgeous. And please, for the love of God, play this game. If you have, let us know what you think about it in the comments down below. Check out
do it.
our socials for our official review: Instagram, IG Reels. I guess that's the same thing. TikTok, maybe Snapchat. Maybe we might post one there. YouTube Shorts, everything, Twitter, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't. Hit that bell button and stay tuned for our next review, Pokemon, in a couple weeks.
Yes.
And with that,
And I
we'll
would
see you.
real quick. I would also like you to
for
comment.
it.
Would you rather be colorblind or lose your sense of taste? Comment down below. Thanks.
Ooh, absolutely.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut
Real
you off.
question.
That, no, fantastic. And let us know if you're 2018 or a Ragnarok kind of person. But with that, we'll see you next time around, and we love you, smooches.